I consider myself a pretty lucky guy. I've gotten to play in some really, really big moments in this sport. And during my career, I have witnessed a lot of awesome events. I think people forget that aside from being a professional lacrosse player and a coach, that number one, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of our sport. And even more importantly, I'm a fan and advocate for the face-off position. And I got to see with my own eyes the most impressive head-to-head matchup in college face-off history when TD Ierlan and Trevor Baptiste went one-on-one. I got really lucky to be on the sideline and see it with my own eyes and witness greatness going against greatness. I asked TD and Trevor to team up with me for a Zoom call in which we went back and watched the film. And I want to thank Lacrosse Film Room for posting their clips on YouTube. And we watched that exact clip, face off for face off, throughout the game. And Trevor and TD and I sat there and analyzed the entire thing. So I want to thank them as well. And I got to tell you, we had a blast doing it. So I hope you guys enjoy this. This is the quarterfinal matchup between two of the very best face-off guys in the history of the college game. All right, hey guys. So I've got TD, I've got Trev, and we have the most, in my opinion, epic college face-off battle of all time queued up for you guys. I want to thank FaceOff Film Room, Lax Film Room, for queuing this up. This is clips of every single face-off throughout that matchup, including the commentary. And we're just going to go through face-off by face-off and get TD and Trev's opinions and what they were looking forward to. The first thing I want to ask you guys each, and we'll start with you, TD, building up to this, obviously this was the most people ever talked about face-offs in a college game before it happened. What was your mindset basically going up to this game?
Yeah, so I think for me, I had worked out with Drew Simino for years, and I kind of gauged kind of like what I thought like elite level speed was and hands. And I thought we had a pretty good game plan going in. And at the end of the day, I think there was so much media attention for me, and obviously going up against a guy with the accolades Trevor had, and no one had them or anything even close to him. So I think I just had to kind of just reset and kind of try and tell myself he's human and just put it in perspective. I think Drew gave me a good talk in kind of a bad way. He's like, no one really expects you to win one. So if you win any, you're doing a good job. And I mean, he told me that and put everything in perspective. And I mean, I couldn't thank him enough because that whole week he drove up to Albany like 3 times from Syracuse. And I think he did a good job getting me prepared for this matchup. And it was pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy experience for me and kind of taught me a lot of life lessons and just how to approach big games.
That's awesome. Yeah, and people who don't know Drew Simino, he's the man. He's a great dude. He's an ML All-Star, plays for the Water Dogs now. Awesome dude upstate. If you guys live upstate and want to get some reps in and learn some stuff, Drew teaches technique very similar to us, so he's an elite level guy for sure. Trev, what was your mindset going into this?
I was just I tried to just not think too much. I think more so for this game compared to any other game. I think a lot of people forgot that, face-offs are extremely important, but they're just one part of the game, and I think that it was great for the position and great for the sport. And it was great to be a part of that excitement. But for me, I obviously talked to Coach Tierney a lot because he's the head coach, and he's like, everybody's making a huge deal out of this thing. And he's like, I think you just shouldn't, you should just go out there and play. And I think that was a constant battle for me, that to make the face-off battle more important this game than it was any other game, because I'm the type of player that just goes out and tries to play his absolute best every single time, no matter who I'm going against, so that's what it was for me. And then from the media side, I think it was kind of TD alluded to it. Everybody was like, oh, like you're going to do, like you should win, like you should do really well. And I think that put a lot of pressure on me because I'm like, I think this guy's pretty good. So, it's going to be a pretty tough matchup, and it just makes every loss, every win kind of feel more powerful, such a little bit more of a powerful emotion. And that's exactly what you don't want when you're in a game. You want to stay pretty even keeled. So those are kind of my things going in. Obviously, it was quarterfinals, and we had a lot going on with the team, so it's my senior year. This is like kind of my last hurrah, my whole class's last hurrah. And we lost our LSM to, he just couldn't play. And we were just going into this game and we're like, yo, we're just going to battle, our whole team. And that was the mantra all week. And that's what I just thought I was going to try to do.
Yeah, I will say this. I'm always cognizant of the fact as a person, a coach or a player or whatever, but I'm first and foremost a FaceOff fan. And I understood how important your guys' matchup was for our position and for the game itself. And I'm split between two worlds. One, I like both you guys personally. I don't want to put too much undue pressure on a college guy with this media stuff. But at the same time, I wanted to hype it because I wanted people to care. And I want people to care about our position. And, like in my talks with the PLL, like I like the idea of them posting things where it sounds like it's a heavyweight battle. And face-off guys are now becoming the more popular guys in our sport, which is so cool. So on one hand, I felt bad because I didn't want you guys to feel too much of the media pressure. On the other hand, I wanted to be like, everybody watch this. It's sick.
Yo, I don't think like you should take any blame for that. I mean,
everybody.
No, it wasn't you. It's just everybody. Like,
dude, I was on the sideline. I was
it's a great matchup.
Yeah. So let's. And by the way, just so people understand at home, what Trevor had kind of alluded to, like one thing that's always impressed me, and I know I've told Trevor this. I don't know if I've told TD this or not, but something that impresses me. As someone who knows exactly what it feels like, I'm so impressed with how you guys continuously perform. When people expect you to go 75 or 80% every week, and if you lose 2 face-offs in a row, it's like the biggest deal ever, and you guys still go out and you still hammer people week after week for all 4 years, that is incredibly impressive, and people have no idea how hard that is to do. It is way harder to go out there when people expect you to dominate and still continuously dominate and continue to get better even than it is for people to have no idea of who you are. So I just can't tell you guys how impressive that is to me. All right, so let's get started here. First face off of the game, right? You guys are both walking out there. Tell me about the feeling. Tell people at home about the feeling of the first face off when you guys are walking out there right now.
I can't even hold my mouthpiece in my mouth.
Right?
That.
Right? So this moment right now, like I'd play the audio for 2 seconds and you're like, you can feel it already, right? So like, what's going through your mind on this first face-off, TD?
Well, I go out and I saw Matty Palem, good upstate guy, so I was like, all right, anything really goes here. And I was kind of like, it was just like, all right, here we go. There's like, at this point, it was just, for me, it was like, there's nothing else I can do, like, just work the whole year for this. So it's just kind of time to go out and do it. And took a deep breath and I was like, all right, let's go.
Let's go. How about you, Trev?
I was just like, let's just play. And I kind of just tried to stay on the same mindset of, like, let's just play this like I'm going into every other game. And I think
all right, let's play the first rep and see what we got.
Baptiste against Tristan David Ierlan in one of the most anticipated opening face-offs this sport has ever seen. Round 1 to the sophomore, T.D. Ierlan.
After that, I was kind of like, all right, I might not win one the rest of the game, but at least I got one.
So what I'm thinking is after that face off, to be honest with you, I was like, whoa, like I didn't think that was gonna happen so fast. Like I didn't think I was gonna pop the ball out. I thought we were gonna be down there for a long time because I thought we were gonna feel each other out a little bit. You know? Get down there, see what's going, see what we're working with over here. But I was like, oh snap, like we're going. And then I missed the ground ball because of it, and you had a good check. TD got to his feet really quickly. It was putting pressure on my hands, so it was tough for me. It wasn't a clean ground ball, but that's what I was thinking going off the field.
Well, I'll say one of the things that I think people never talk about enough with UTD, and I think you're the best in the country at this, and you have been for 4 years, is when you lose a clamp, your ability to get it back. And I've seen games where you'll win 90% of the clamps, so people won't notice that 10% when you do lose, how quickly you disrupt an exit. And that's always an incredible thing for guys to understand at home, how important that footwork is, because that's what steals you back, and that's where your percentage climbs. Just losing a clamp isn't a face-off loss, and I thought that was awesome because right off the bat, it's easy to be shell-shocked in a big game. Trevor wins the clamp cleanly and then starts rotating, and for you to just be shell-shocked and throw your feet standing, just check, and instead you just got right around him and disrupted his exit, and that was awesome because that set the tone for the whole day. All right, so let's go to the second one here.
Scotty Moore yesterday playing air guitar in the locker room to Grateful Dead.
Quint with a completely worthless audio.
You did a good job there getting your feet. Good ground ball out of honestly.
Yeah, I thinking back, like it was just such a, and I'm happy that, they're adding like not just the face off, because it's so important after the face off to be able to get to your feet, make an athletic play. And that's what was really happening the whole day.
Yeah.
It was like maybe the face off lasted like 10 seconds, but like the real battle for possession was going on. Even if someone got the ball, like it was still going, people were still battling for possession.
Yeah. And you guys both elite level at not just winning the clamp, but when you do lose the clamp, or knowing when to bail. And I think that only comes from being seasoned vets and not having that in your head that you have to absolutely win the clamp. You guys would bail and immediately try to disrupt the exit. And it was awesome because you could tell and you could feel how much your wings on both sides of the ball wanted your face-off guy to come out on top that day.
Yeah.
Like your wings on both sides were like,
Yeah.
we have to be the 51% team. Like we have to be. So it was awesome. Here's an actually great slow-mo of that face-off. And TD, I don't know if that was the game plan, but you could tell like on your initial motions, you were trying you were getting to Trevor's right shoulder instead of trying to beat him over the top like people have in the past. And you were whipping around that ball so fast. Is that just based on your wrestling background and instincts, or was that the actual game plan?
I think for me, I like obviously wrestling background plays a big part. I think I saw a lot of guys that would just Trevor's big and really strong, and he gets over the column really well. So I think a lot of guys try to slug with him, and that's just that was not what I was trying to do. I don't know if Trevor even remembers it, but Charles Kelly from UNC that year, he did a pretty good job against you relative for. I mean, I guess what he was like, you still got the better of him, but like he played you pretty well, especially relative to anyone else. So I kind of like took bits and pieces of what he did and tried to just get to a better angle and like. Because if I went against you head on, I think it's the only thing you ever hear anyone talk about is how you're like 60 pounds more than me. So I was like, try it. I'm not going to sit here and slug with the guy because it hasn't worked. So.
Well, that's important for kids to understand, right? Is like take ego out of it and be analytical. And you looked at what would have been the best approach. Trev, so 2 face-offs for Albany and then 2 goals. So what are you thinking coming out for that third face-off? You think anything differently? Is there anything getting to you? Or you know what I mean?
I'm thinking, I thinking back on it, I think I was beating myself up pretty hard right at that point. I think more so the first face-off, not getting that ground ball. I think that, like you said, like it kind of set the tone for the day. Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking at that point, my mind was a little bit still in that moment, and I'm thinking, if I picked up that ball, there would be a little bit of a different rhythm to this, but at the same time, that's what I'm thinking on the sideline, that's what I'm thinking. But once I get on the field, I'm just, whatever, I got to go for the next one. I think at this point, we know what we're both trying to do to each other, so.
Yeah. All right, let's take a look at number 3 here. You could tell on that one, Trev, you wanted to go for that rejam, but you knew you were going to get called for something, so you like backed off.
Yeah, I got the like I almost got it, but my hand slipped above his head. So once it slipped above, I was like, I had to back up because I was like, they're gonna call me, and then it was perfectly timed exit by TD. Once I backed my hands up, he was like, whoop, he just swooped right out.
Yeah. Now TD, you're 3 for 3, and you guys go up by 3 goals. What are you feeling right now?
Thinking back, I mean, obviously, I was pretty excited with the start, and I think I was like, at this point, I was like, all right, here we go. And I think for like a little bit here, I kind of lost track of like sticking to like the next face-off. I kind of got ahead of myself, which I guess that's one thing. I was still a sophomore, so I was young, and that's one thing I kind of had to learn a lot last year and stuff. But I was feeling great. I was happy after the first one. I felt good, 1-2 clamps. Kind of felt like the game. It's almost like you guys know. It's like you hit a game plan all week, and you're like, all right, we're like getting to it. It's working. I thought we really practiced. I'm sure you guys did, getting the matchups on the wings, and it seemed like they were doing a good job. So yeah, I was feeling really confident right now. But I kind of knew in the back of my head, it was like, he's going to have something. I was just kind of waiting for his adjustment and see what it was, and then kind of counter that adjustment eventually.
Yeah. Now, I think people always talk about how their team feeds off of face-off wins, but I don't think they understand how much we feed off of our team scoring goals. Yeah. It is so much easier to go out there and keep a run going than it is to mentally stop the bleeding. So when your offense shows up and you go 3 for 3 on offensive possessions, like now for Trevor, like you were going out there and it's like, you need this one, like you're getting that call out from your sideline. Like that's going to help you at all. Right. But what were you thinking on this one?
I just try not to think about that. Like we need this one. I think too, like that Albany team that year was great at transition, and they're just pushing the ball down the field so fast, especially off the face-off. I think from what I remember, as the game goes on, the more face-offs, like either one of us would win, or say TD won, or say his wing picked it up, and like the ball was almost in the zone within like 2 seconds, So I'm thinking like it's either I got to win the face-off or I got to create a really big scrum, I got to scrum one out. And that's usually what I lean on when I'm maybe not winning as much as I usually do is, I just got to grind one out. I just got to get out there. I just got to put my head down, almost forget about the technique a little bit, and just, I shouldn't say forget about it, but, just kind of put in the back of your mind and just put the head hard and hustle in the front of your mind, and then you can always feed off that.
Yeah. Well, I think TD hit it on the head. We call it like the deadlift protocol, where like when you're going to do a deadlift and you're thinking about your form, or you're going to do a clean, you have all the way up until you get to the bar to think about that. Once you've gotten to the bar, it's like you got to grip it and rip it.
Right.
You can't think about it as you're doing it. And I think that's what you mean. Like, you're like, look, I've been training. The technique is as good as it's going to be, and it's right there. I just have to like vary in a little bit.
Right.
So let's run it through for a few draws, and we'll talk as we go. All right.
All right.
Trevor, that's a huge weight on his shoulders right now, and we're going to see how each of those guys use that momentum. Technically, what are you seeing from TD? TD's doing exactly what he had to do. He learned from past mistakes. He's sticking that left foot in the ground, and he's trying to get around Trevor immediately. Trevor can't use his. That was
the one really impressive thing to me, T. I know we had talked a little bit earlier in the year when you went, I think it was Mackey, and you would be kicking that left foot out, and you made that adjustment, and you were getting your helmet into the zone so quick in this game. It was astounding.
Yeah, that was one. Connor Mackey is like this. He was such a tough matchup for me, and like it took me 3 games to figure him out. He's just so strong, and like if you kick that left foot out against him, he just goes through you.
Yeah. So. But I think it's important for kids to understand that. Like at some point, every one of us faces a tough day, or we see something that we haven't seen before, or we see something we had no idea we had an issue with our technique that costs us in a game. And it's just, are you going to learn from it, or are you just going to say that was just a bad day?
Right.
and you obviously learn from it, which is awesome. And that's indicative of the whole game. You guys would win a clean. Someone would win a clamp. The other guy would be in his hip pocket right after he went to exit. And I think that's the best takeaway for kids to see.
Right. It's like after the face-off is just as important as the actual face-off.
Yeah.
It almost felt like you baited me on that one watching it. Like, I don't know if you meant to do it, but like, I thought that was so open in the game, and then I was like, oh, that was just not very open at all.
I got to my feet quick because right off the whistle, I knew I wasn't like you got the first jump on me, so I was like, I'm standing up. I'm like, I'm not gonna get this clamp. There's no point for me to stay down there.
You know, I thought it was kind of interesting, Trev. I think the only opening TD gave you 99% of the game was that defensive turn.
Right.
And your non-pull side LSM was deep. So you were turning like right into him and the Albany wing.
Right. Well, mainly what it was is we actually went 2 shorties that game for the whole game. So we were kind of more worried about the transition, and if they do pick the ball up, then because one of us has to get off, right?
Yeah.
And those are our 2 deep defensive midfielders. So it would be me, 99% of the time. That's what we'd like. So we were kind of keeping them back just in case, we could get the subbing game. And Albany took advantage of it a little bit early off those 3 first face-offs.
Yeah, 100%.
Camera angles for face-off, like, I tell kids like I help out and give lessons to, like, they always like say they love this game, and there's so many angles that like I've never really thought about. So like pretty cool.
No, this is ridiculous. Like I haven't even really appreciated that. That's a great point. Like,
hey, in half the games on TV, they don't even show the face-off.
Yeah, it's like not in the center of the frame.
Yeah,
like really
and the Atlas have the ball.
Yeah.
Right. I'm trying to think. I'm not sure what the call was about it.
That was I think they called a loose ball push on.
Yeah. I like whiffed on the catch, and then it was right at my feet. So I was like, all right, stop, and hopefully they overrun or they push me.
Yeah. This is where I started to see, Trev, you adapting to how fast TD was spinning. Because I think you went a couple here just by kind of doing that. So.
Yeah. Do what you got to do.
Ugh. Quint.
Yeah, that one was – you started getting your head over way better for, like, the rest of the game.
Basically, at halftime, I reevaluated and kind of felt that I wasn't – I was kind of torn a little bit. So half of me, because of the first face-off of the game, I'm thinking, I could get down to this ball. Like, I can get my top over before you rotate around, and that's going to open everything up, right? And I kind of stuck to that game plan, I think, a little bit too long. And then at halftime, I'm like, all right, I got to start rotating around more, get my feet moving. And I think it helped.
Yeah.
Really.
I will say when you got Matty Palin as one of the officials doing the face-off, you have to like really pay attention to who's blowing the whistle, because Matty is such a fast cadence compared to any other ref.
I know. I love it. I love Matty's cadence. Oh,
I love it too, except when I go standing neutral, I hit him in the chest like 8 times a game.
A lot of times, like if it's too long of a pause, that's a bad turnover right there. Remember that one. A lot of times, if it's a long pause, like you're almost just baiting them to jump. Just
yeah.
He was fast.
You should see
He's
him in the
good, though. I mean, you don't
playoff.
really get too many vios with him, and like he lets the face, like he doesn't call withholding or anything. I love when he officiates my games.
You know what? He does a good job of is he says set with his hand down there for a while,
Mhm.
then he backs out and blows it.
Yeah.
In the PLL, as soon as his hand moves, you're going.
Yeah, it's even faster.
I love the patience, TD. Like when you would see that he would start to go for that can opener, you would just pin it down hard so that he would just get a piece of plastic, and then as he stood up, you would go.
Yeah, it was great timing. Good timing.
Yeah. Should have went to that exit a little bit more. Fell in love with like a hot air balloon neutral exit, and I don't think I got one of them this game. But
Well, it's tough because, like you said, sometimes if you watch a guy on film, like you'll see what he likes to do, and then you'll try to bait him into doing it in the game, and then jump it. And
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great angle. Great
Yeah.
angle. No, it's actually kind of funny. I was coaching it. I'll say it after this one. Or no, this is replay. So it's coaching this kid, and he goes, "Yo, like, it's like you face off against TD. Like, I noticed that like his arm is like his wrist isn't bent at all." And I'm like, "Nah, I think it's definitely bent, like a little bit." And like, okay, now there's proof because like I wasn't necessarily sure, like I wasn't positive, but that angle is proof. I was like, nah, I think he's definitely bending his wrist. I don't think he could face off like this, like you can't clamp. And he was like, no, like I think it's straight. And I'm like, nah.
This year was the most straight it was, and then my knee was so close. I've changed a little bit. I've changed a decent bit since then. But kids like ask me how they do that, and then like I'll see some kids who I was like, it works for me. Like it doesn't have to work for you. Like
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, everyone's different heights and
Yeah.
lengths, and
I is right.
I will say it was awesome that this was pouring the whole game.
Oh my God.
Dude, I was so bummed because there were going to be 50,000 people there if that rain didn't happen. It was still pretty full.
Yeah, it's gonna be so packed. Oh.
Dude, Ray was all over everything.
He's so good off the ground.
He's great.
Ray's great on the wings, man. He is good.
Same with I think that was one thing is like everyone like our wing units were two of the best in the country, if not like probably maybe 1, 2. Yale's are really good with Warner and Mooney too, and then Alessi, but like our 2 units were I think in the top 3.
Well, and that's what people don't get is I tell kids like in the difference in high school, it's all about your face-off guy being fast. In college, it's about the unit having cohesiveness and also knowing how to adapt to different types of face-off guys that you're going against. And I think you're right. Both of these units throughout the game were really not just you guys were picking up on each other. They were picking up on you guys as well, and they were figuring you guys out.
Right. And I think that was a low pass. I think that's to that point. I think I score here. Hey, nice.
Hey,
no, but to that point, that's why we ended up going 2 shorties because we had so much chemistry in those 2 short. Zach Rumberg and Danny Logan, amazing short stick D middies, and we all really trusted each other,
Yeah.
And then our LSM goes out, so we're thinking, do we put a pull out there that hasn't taken face-offs with us all year, or do we just go 2 shorties? And we went with 2 shorties, and I think
it really pays off in transition, especially in that situation. That's a crazy broken play. The pass goes low, so
Right.
TD and the shorty end up kind of going towards the box at the same time, which is what every single person would do in that situation. But you just happened to be on the opposite side of the field and just hung out.
Yeah, right.
It's a perfect storm.
Yeah, because like we had the numbers, like it didn't make sense for me to sub there. Because everybody was by the box. Like you said.
I remember I like sprint off the field because I thought I was near the box, and then I heard like cheers from the Denver section. I was like, just please tell me Trevor didn't score. End of the game, someone told me he scored. I was like, yeah, it's tough when the other guy scored.
Absolutely.
That was a good ground ball.
Dude, both of you guys put on a GB clinic in this game. Like, you guys picked up some insane GBs. Yeah, there's
That's
two
what has
really
to
bad
happen.
feelings.
That's what has to happen, you know?
Yeah, you
We're
gotta.
on each other's hands the whole time,
Whole
you know?
time, you
Like,
guys-
we had to make good GVs.
There was not one lazy face-off in this game. It was
Right,
awesome.
right.
But there's
Like,
two,
you could have
TD,
just
like you were saying, there's two really terrible feelings. One is thinking you smoked the guy and not seeing the ball in your stick. And the
Yeah.
other is running off the field and then seeing the crowd cheer when you're on defense and having to wonder if you just gave up a goal to the other face-off.
That is a good point. That's a good point.
The thing I think a lot of kids can learn from, because there weren't like 60-second face-offs in this game,
Right.
but there were a lot of tie-ups for a couple seconds. And the reason there weren't like 2.5-minute long face-offs is because you guys never froze. You both stayed active, and your left hands kept cranking, whether it was a saw down or a rotation. And I think that's one of the biggest takeaways kids need to see in this is when you're frozen, in order to gain the advantage, you have to stay active. And I think people, especially people who hate on face-offs, it's when guys just freeze and sit there and push it into each other's sticks. That's when they get annoyed.
Right.
For me too, it was like I knew Trevor was too good of an exiter for me just to like sit down there if he hasn't, just like hold him up. Like it did me more good if I just got to my feet and tried to contest it.
I felt the same way. I was like if I'm gonna get smoked if I stay down here, you know. Like all three of the midfielders are gonna be in the box. I'm gonna be at the face-off X still, you know.
Yeah. Plus, I think if you get up to your feet with how fast the wing guys were sprinting in, you almost have the advantage because there's 3 guys on their feet compared to 2 guys on their feet and 1 guy on a knee.
Exactly.
This was great. I think half the sideline was freaking out because you checked with your butt end of your stick and people didn't know if that was legal or not. And I was like, yeah, it's totally fine. Like, Clark's like, can you do that? I'm like, yeah, you can totally do that.
My stick. Like, it's stick on stick. I don't know why everybody thought it. I like it, though.
I think it's because TD slipped right there and everyone was like, "Wah!"
Yeah,
He's hurting him.
I remember Coach Marr that week was asking me because I watched like a lot of film that week, and it was like freshman year or something. You did it once. He's like, "Think he'll do that?" And I was like, I was probably like freshman year, and then like, yeah, I was like, "Oh, that hurt. That still really hurt."
Yeah, no, I love that check. Yeah, I think a lot of
great shovel counter right there, man.
Like the wings were just. I was trying to get a call right there.
Can we talk about Ray's attempted push call right there?
Yeah. Oh my god.
I think he got it too.
No. They called a reclamp on that.
Okay.
Like, that's the first time I've ever seen a reclamp called, and I couldn't be happier.
I was like, I was like trying to kind of just rake it back, but I just like I really pushed down when I did it, and then I definitely clamped it for a second. But I was just trying to get it away from the sideline, and then at first I was trying to get a push call. I was like, "Oh, this guy's right behind."
So here's what I was noticing at this point in the game is TD was rotating so fast that it was basically causing the plastic of your own head to hit your elbow. And it was like, I know I've been in games where guys freeze and I can draw that penalty. And like Matty Palin will never call it. He's like right there. And like the second ref would call it. I think it got called on you twice. I didn't know if TD was doing it on purpose or not, but I thought it was a genius thing to do if he can cause that plastic to hit your own elbow, because that's, obviously once that touches, it's supposed to be a withholding call.
Yeah.
I mean,
I went to I started kind of through a new wrinkle, and it was like for 4 face-offs, 5 face-offs in a row, I would just rotate, and if I wasn't getting it, I'd just try and go right to a jam because of how the CEOs are, and then try and come back on top of it, and it was just and then you adjusted, then I had to adjust. But the one call, I didn't even think you were really using your elbow. It's just I out-rotated you fast.
Yeah. He wasn't actively doing this. It just was peeling back because it's a face flex head.
Right, and it just touched it. And it touched it for it wasn't even touching it for that long. I was pretty pissed about it, to be honest. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, you know why though, Trev? It's when you freeze and it hits, they immediately think that you're trying to withhold.
To pin it down, right?
So yeah, that's why they call that.
Everyone always asks me if we talked if you like chirp me or anything this game or vice versa. And I was like, the only thing I ever remember him saying is when you got called for using your elbow, you just being like, you got to be kidding me right now. And then just
Yeah.
ran off the field. It's the
Yeah.
only thing you said.
I was like,
people love asking that.
yeah.
You
I
guys
was
talk
so
smack.
pissed.
I'm like, we're exhausted. We don't have the energy to talk smack to each other.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, come on, man. But yeah, no, that definitely stinks. But I think it's important, right? Like when you get in those situations, you know, like that call happened, it's over. Doesn't make sense to keep complaining about it.
Yeah.
Just either run off or run back on D, you know.
Aside from face-offs too, this was like one of probably my top like 3 games, just lacrosse games I've ever been a part of. This game was wild. This was unreal.
I agree with you. This was pretty awesome.
This was a great ground ball by Zach.
Whew.
Ooh. That's my boy Red Berg.
Yo. Yeah, I think man, this was just so cool watching this whole game develop, watching you guys battle and figure each other out. And you weren't just sticking to one thing every time. You guys were trying to show each other different looks. Look at that. I mean, that's just great footwork. Great screw drill for Trev. That was the exit. That was the exit that was open. And TD just jumped it.
He jumped it,
great.
yeah. And he jumped it from the other side. So like I was like, yo, I'm gonna turn and I'm gonna get him to go this way. And then you like went around. I was like, he's definitely gonna go this way because it's shorter. And he was like, nah, I saw you, boy. Oh, damn.
That was a really good exit. Get out quick. Oh, you off the pipe.
Off the pipe on that one. That
Yeah,
one.
nice.
That's definitely what I want back for sure. You could see that. You could see just the upsetness in my eyes.
Look at that upsetness.
Oh, you gotta be kidding me!
In case anyone's never actually seen Trevor mad, that's actually what it looks like. That's as bad as it gets.
So true, though. So true.
Oh, I had like you did a really good jam here. I was so happy. I was gonna sit there for 50 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I was like, I gotta throw. I just started to try to throw it earlier because if I stayed down the clip, you were pinching me out when I was doing it a little later. So I was like, I'm just gonna throw it earlier.
Yeah, and you did it at the perfect time when TD glanced up, his body weight went backwards. So now we've gotten a goal. I've been on both sides of this situation, right? You score, you're up a couple goals. All you got to do is really just win one clamp. Like you said, TD, you're almost thinking like, if I can just clamp this thing for 30 seconds, this baby's a wrap. And I've also been on the side where I have to win it, but I got to win it quick, and we have to score right away. So like 38 seconds left, down by 2. Like, TD, what mentality did you have on this? Are you going for a lockup, or are you trying to say, you know what, like, let me try to bury this, win it clean, and get out of here?
Yeah, so I remember this is like one of my most vivid sports memories ever. I remember they scored, and I just like look at the scoreboard walking back, and like my family, like we've always had this saying. I don't know if it's like I just think it's kind of funny, but we learned it from like one of my really good friends, Yanni, who wrestled, and his family like. He was just like, they were so much better than everyone. They didn't say good luck. They were just like, don't suck. So I was just like, walking back to the face-off, I was like, all right, just don't suck here. It was like, you got so long. I was like, you got to lose like 3 in a row and they score. Like, you're going to be fine. And then so I was just like, just face off. Don't try and do something because of the circumstance, but like, you're going to be fine. And then I remember I got to a point here where I was just like, I'm going to hold it in as long as I could. Like, it's 30 seconds. And then I was just like, nope. All right, we're leaving. Here we go. And then just like, kind of just a bunch of spin moves later.
Yeah. And then Trev, for you, I mean, like TD said, you got to basically win 3 face-offs inside of 30 seconds, and you got to score. So like, let me ask this question. Are you focusing on that, or is the idea of, wow, this is like the end, like this is my last game of my career, is that creeping in at all?
Definitely. I think it 100% like this could be the last game of my college career. And that's a lot of weight, you know, that's a
Mhm.
lot of weight. That's a lot of things to be thinking about. So that's what I'm thinking about on the sideline. Obviously, you know, like I'm watching time go down as the game's going, you know. So obviously that last face off was big, kind of scoring that goal right there. And I'm just like, oh, we just gotta hopefully do it again. You know, hopefully do it again. And you just gotta take it one at a time. You gotta take it one at a time, and it all starts with this one, and hopefully I can get it.
100%.
But no, yeah, you definitely feel it. But you try to just block it out as much as you can.
Of course.
Early tying of Baptiste.
Whew.
Oh boy.
Just hitting the square button over and over
Yeah,
again.
yeah, yeah. Just get it to field. Get it to the ball carriers.
Good spin.
Man, that was awesome. Wow. So I mean, I got to see both reactions. Let me there we go. So I got to see both reactions during that, and like that was just an epic game to be a part of for me as a fan of faceoffs. And sitting on the sideline, you know, I saw TD run over Mark, you know, gives you a big hug. I know, my heart's feeling for Trev too, because I'm just like, wow, like two things. One, obviously Trev is a friend, but secondly, I was just like, man, like this is the end of the Trevor Baptiste era in college, and it was so special. And I hope people remember, like, just like for you, TD, like as you were breaking records this year, I'm sitting there and I remember actually tweeting it, like, I hope everyone understands, like, and values you guys. I think we're always in such a hurry to look for the next thing or the next person that we don't sit back and really admire greatness when we see it. So, I guess TD first, like, tell me what you were thinking, like, as time ran out and like in your head as you're processing what you just did and what just happened.
So I think probably like team wise, we had never made a Final Four, and that was always just like the thing at Albany is just like you guys. I think the quarterfinals was like 6 or 7 times Albany, but like you couldn't break through, and it was just like face-offs had traditionally been like an issue in that program, and I was just like, wow, it's just so symbolic. Like we got to go through like the greatest ever face-off guy that's like always been an issue, and just like so overwhelmed with emotions. Like it was just such a big like preparing for Trevor in that unit was just such a big task, and like just like overwhelmed with emotions and like being like, wow, I finally did it. And then like to like look back, I think me and Trevor texted a little bit after the game and just like pretty much I think I said like congrats obviously on a great career and just like thanked him because like I wouldn't be where I am without him. Like he was always that guy and still is for me. Like just like having someone to put like a standard that you want to achieve, and just I think the same can be said. A lot of people look up to him like that, and it's just to go against him and like for it to kind of like come to fruition. And like I think for me that's like probably in a face-off battle like so far college wise, and like it's probably the best one just like between adjustments and just like everything that went into it. So I think it's a pretty emotional thing. I think I didn't realize it on that like time, but just like looking back at it now, like it's just pretty crazy. Like it's almost like a fairy tale, like how everything kind of happened, and almost like a passing of the torch. And like I think anytime you talk about like me in college lacrosse, like now, like you always bring up Trevor, and like I think a lot of it like vice versa. And now there's like this whole debate and stuff, and like I don't really care. Like everyone asks if I'm like hostility towards him, and like because I was like no, like I wouldn't be good without him. Like I don't hate him. He's the reason I'm good. So yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was like almost like a fairy tale.
Yeah, and I think I agree with you. I think what people don't get is the beauty and the fraternity of what we do. I always say the same thing. Like people ask me, "Do you talk smack to X, Y, and Z?" I was like, "Well, other than Jeff Snyder, like Jeff Snyder and I talk smack, but we still respect the hell out of each other because anybody who chooses what we do, the most rigorously scrutinized thing in our sport, and goes out there and kills ourselves. Like I respect anybody who has the balls to do what we do. So yeah, 100%. And then Trev, for you, man, like what was processing through your head, like as the Albany's running on the field and you guys are kind of walking back to Coach T?
Yeah, I mean, it just sucks, It sucks not. I just don't want college. I just didn't want college to be over. Like, I wanted to go to the Final Four. I wanted to win another national championship. I felt like our whole team. I felt like it was more about our team in my mind at that moment, in my class.
Mm-hmm.
More importantly, because you're never ready for that day when college lacrosse is over, or the guys that you've spent multiple years of your life with to go on and do something else. You're never ready for that time. So I think it was more of that feeling for me. And I think obviously to the matchup, like it was unbelievable. I think I'm the type of person that I don't like to know stats until after the game. So obviously I'm taking the emotion of, it's the last game, we got to fly back to Denver. But I'm thinking, like, I wonder who won that battle. That's what I'm thinking in the back of my mind. Like, I wonder what happened. Like, I don't know. It never probably in all of my 4 years have I left the game and felt like, well, like, I don't know how many face-off I won. I don't know if I lost more than I won. I have no idea. It was honestly, I was just trying to just battle it out every time we're out there. And it was a blast doing it. And no better guy to do it than TD, right? So, to this day, it's something that I can't put a lot of sports competitions up against it. I can't. And I don't think a lot of people can. I don't think a lot of people can.
Well, I think, I think some people don't understand when you're playing at a high level in the sport that you love, the win-loss part actually isn't as important as the memory of the moment.
Right.
Like we lost the PL championship this year, but I remember going out for the final face-off of the fourth quarter, looking around the stadium and being like, how lucky am I right now to be part of something like this? You know what I mean? And you guys were definitely part of that moment in college lacrosse. And, I would agree with TD as a passing of the torch moment, which is pretty special, especially when you look at how much people wanted to see that matchup and to get to see it in a quarterfinal and to see a 50-50 battle. Like, you can't even make that up. Like, that's just incredible.
Yeah, man, you can't make it up.
Yeah.
You can't make that
up. You get lucky that you get a chance to go against each other. Like, I don't know if TD wants to play in the pros or whatever, but if you guys played in the PLL against each other, it would be a highly billed contested matchup, but you're going to get to do that 2 or 3 times in a season.
Right.
Whereas in college, everything had to line up perfect for that to happen. And when it happened, you guys over-delivered, and it was sick.
And while everything's on the line, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times with pros, obviously there's playoffs, and it's really important, but you get the next season. It's like, oh, like we didn't get it. We didn't get this year. Like, we'll be back next year. Going to train hard, go back and get it again. College, it's like, like this is all like, this is either we're doing it or we're going home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and not see these guys, a lot of them ever again, maybe. Like,
right.
Crazy.
Yeah, definitely not in the same circumstance. Yeah, it was crazy. As soon as I remember we were sitting, like, they're releasing the bracket, and I was like, you lost to, like, Georgetown maybe or something?
Lost to Georgetown in that.
I was like, there's no way they don't put them in our league. I was like, I don't know how, but like they're gonna try and make this work. And I was like, but I'm glad it did. I mean, definitely was great for the position. I think the sport, like, I don't really know if they build like a matchup like attackman versus defenseman or anything like that.
No.
It's so unique, and that's why it's special, and that's why it's staying in the goddamn game. So I want to thank you guys a lot for taking time out of this to do this. I know hopefully kids are going to learn a ton out of this. And, as a guy who's older and not playing anymore, I want to thank you guys because the position's in really, really good hands. And there's thousands of kids that are going to watch this today and see what they just watched and see you guys break it down and want to be exactly like you. And they're going to be the next big thing because of it. So thanks a lot. And I appreciate you guys coming on and doing this.
No problem. This was fun. This was
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
Chopping it
Thanks for
up.
having us.
Yeah.
All right, guys.